put it way over there. It's terrible.
Probably have the same.
We're good. All right.
Farsighted now.
Good evening. We'll call to order the regular monthly meeting of the City of Helotes Planning and Zoning Commission. It's February the 6th at 7:01. Ask the commission secretary to call the roll, please.
Greg Michelle.
Here.
Buck Russell. Here. Ann Caraway.
Here.
Alex Blue's here, and Jason Widener is not.
Whiteman.
Whiteman, sorry.
And Michael Gallardo from staff is here, and David Cato, our council liaison, as well. We will start tonight with item 3, which is a public hearing to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on a request by Great Lakes Lone Star for a change in zoning from Neighborhood Service District B2 to General Business District B3 for 1.992 acres described as Rocking Lot Subdivision Block 5, Lot 57, generally located at 1365 Road. So just as a reminder, for public hearings, we invite you to give us your feedback. You have 3 minutes to speak. It's not an opportunity for question and answer and dialogue. We ask that you direct your comments this way to us, and that you be respectful of your fellow citizens in the room and others who are speaking who may have divergent views from your own. Also, if you would please just put your name and address on the record for us. And that's it. So we will start at 7:03. And I have the names of those who have signed up. So I'll start with that. And Patrick McGowan gets to lead off.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick McGowan. I live at 10902 Bar X Trail in Helotes Park Estates. And I'm here to speak in strong opposition to the Great Lakes Lone Star zoning request from B2 to B3. You know, B2 is intended to be, quote, such services to satisfy the household needs of surrounding residential areas. This is zoned light commercial for a particular reason, and it is adjacent to the homes. And because of the close proximity of the homes, that's why it was originally intended that way. Changing it to B3 zoning opens it up to 170 different uses, including auditoriums, department stores, hotels, manufacturing, all adjacent to homes. And that's just not fair to the people that live there. If this was approved, first of all, you know, a storage unit is a bad idea, but opening up to heavy commercial is an even worse idea. And I cannot imagine the effects and the impacts that it will have on those homes in that area. You know, if this is approved, the one thing to point out is if this changes to B3, they can build anything they want. That's B3. It doesn't have to be a storage unit. This is a bad proposal for Helotes. There's no financial benefit or benefit at all that we can see. And if this decision is made, this is a decision that could affect us and we regret long term. So I hope that you turn down this proposal, and I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Sabrina McGowan.
Good evening. I'm Sabrina McGowan. I live at 10902 Bar X Trail in Helotes Park Estates. And I'm here tonight to ask you to please reject the request from Great Lakes Lone Star to change the zoning from B2 to B3 for the property on Bandera Road that also backs up to 6 homes in Helotes Park Estates. I think there's a strategic balance among our zoning classifications, and in this case, making changes to it would benefit the property owner instead of the residents with a business that does not feel a need in our community. A storage facility is redundant and incompatible with the adjacent neighborhood. Helotes is already home to 3 self-storage facilities within a 3.5-mile section of Bandera Road. And there is a new 124,000 square foot 3-storage self-storage facility on Houseman Road at Loop 1604. If you approve the zoning change from B2 to B3, you would be setting a precedent for other owners of B2 properties. As you know, there is a significant difference between what is allowed under B2 and what is allowed under B3. And the difference is nearly 40 additional types of businesses. So please uphold the current B2 for this property and reject the request from Great Lakes Lone Star. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sean Carlson.
Good evening. I'm Sean Carlson and I own the property adjacent to this. It's 13234 and the one next to that, which is 13438. I also run my
Bandera.
Bandera. Yes, Bandera. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also run my architectural business out of the 13438.
Thank you.
And actually I sold the piece of property to the Lopez's. So I oppose this for multiple reasons. It will devalue my investment because I have chosen to stay in Helotes, run my business in Helotes. I know the residents will also be greatly impacted as well. And I think it's, the betterment of one versus 15 or so residents and business owners is not just cause for that. Also as an architect, I make my living on development but responsible development. It's the main thoroughfare that runs through Helotes, and feel like the way it's zoned now is a better use than opening it up to multiple potential things that could be a detriment to the city. It's not something, if they put a building in there that is like a storage unit that you change in 10 years, we will have to live with that for, the next 15, 20 or plus years. So I don't know if that's the image that really Helotes wants to see on a main thoroughfare. So appreciate your time. I welcome the opportunity to have had my voice heard because I'm not a voting member, but I just appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Burial. Apologize if I didn't get
No,
that
you got
right.
it perfectly. I respond to many things. Barley is fine, whatever. Anyway, good evening, y'all. I'm Amy Burrell, 10006 Lazy J Trail, right over here in Helotes Park Estates. I'm here to also voice my opposition to this plan for rezoning. I don't think that it's beneficial to our community. Like Sabrina said, I think it's redundant. We have plenty of storage. Let's make Helotes a place to go to, not through. I mean, I'm gonna zip right past that. It's just gonna be a blemish. It exactly benefits one, not many. I really think that this zoning is a great buffer to help us wisely develop what we do have. And I think we should vote to regard that and keep that intact. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd care to speak to this item? Come on up.
He's the property owner.
You're the property owner. You're welcome to speak at this time as well. And there'll also be an opportunity when we when we're talking about the
I
item.
wasn't sure if I was getting the cart in front of the horse or not.
So you've got 3 minutes like everybody else. Just put your name and business address on record if you would.
All right, will do. Business address is 13652 Bandera Road. My name is Tony Lopez. I am a longtime resident and business owner here in Helotes. I have not only graduated from O'Connor High School in 2006, but I not only helped to run and operate a martial arts studio that has been in Helotes since 2001, 2002, but now own my own business right here off of the ETJ area on Leslie Road. My wife and I both own a martial arts and a dance facility right next to it. She owns a ballet facility, Collective Dance Artistry, and I'm Retro Sport Karate. We've been in that business or in that facility for 10 years, 12 years now. We opened up in 2012, so 12 years at this time. We actually did purchase the property from Mr. Carlson just about 2.5 years ago, right before or right around when everything kind of hit the fan with COVID and everything else from there. To be honest with you, we had purchased this property so that way we could build educational facilities on it. This is what we do and what we develop is building young minds and individuals and to help to give them that in this community. So that is our goal. We did require and are looking for a B3, and the reason for that is multitude reasons. One, when we had purchased it, we originally thought it was going to give us more space to be able to utilize the square footage. Unfortunately, with it being a B2, it does not give us the space that we need to not only have the facilities that we need to occupy to be able to house these students, but also doesn't give us the parking space that is required to be able to facilitate the amount of people. I have over 185 students, and my wife has over 365 students. Between the two of us, serving Helotes is what we do. And our goal is to continue to build this foundation for them. As far as a storage company and facility goes, nothing of that nature has ever been set in concrete, and our goal is to still be able to build our facilities. So I'm a little taken back by some of this. Also, with that being said, it being a B3 versus a B2 now no longer gives us a smaller setback. On top of that, it allows us to do what we need to move forward. As far as Helotes goes and the community within Helotes, like I said, I'm an O'Connor graduate. I've been here from 87. I plan on being here thereafter. My goal is to build something that is not only going to be an icon for this community, but a place that I would love for Helotans, I don't know, to call their home. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. No one else? We will call an end to the public hearing at 7:13 and move on. We'll come back to that item as we encounter it on our agenda. We'll move to item 4, which is citizens to be heard. Michael, we don't have anybody additional to speak tonight, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so item 5 is discussion and action on the minutes of the special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission from November 14, 2023, which was our last meeting, and it is a designated special meeting because if you recall, the election was during our regular time slot, so hence it is a special, it was a special. But at any rate, if there are any corrections or edits, please call those to our attention now, or we can have a motion.
Any edits? No. I move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated November 14th, 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Buck, all in favor of approving the minutes from the special meeting of November 14, 2023, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Thank you all. Okay, we can go ahead to item 6 this evening, which is discussion and action on a request by Philip Manea, businesses Double DP Investments, for approval of a conceptual design plan pursuant to Code Chapter 98, Section 27, that is zoning, Old Town Helotes Special District, for a building addition to Casa Aesthetics and Wellness at 14743 Old Bandera Road, Building 7. Mr. Manea is here. There he is. If we have questions. And I will, Michael, you're pulling it up. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does staff have anything beyond what was provided to us?
No. I'll just kind of quickly go over just
Please.
the site plan. So if you look at here, that's roughly number 7 here. So if you look to the left of that, that's pretty much Pete's place. So that kind of gives you a general idea of where it's located. If you do an aerial view, it's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of trees there. But this is what it looks like currently. This is a little entrance. It's going to be walled. So you'll have the front here with the door and then the 2 sides with walls and windows. And I'll just kind of go through this real quick for you. So this year, we'll use this for building materials and elevation. So if you, again, this will be an aerial view of what it looks like. And then this is the front elevation. You'll see that it'll still have that stone, but on the sides here, you have your right and left elevations with windows. It's going to be the stucco that currently exists, and it'll just match that. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Michael.
No questions.
Okay, is this the honeybee place that used to have the honey? Okay, I know that building. Okay.
Buck, you're good. Questions? Alex, anything?
I only have a comment, and I certainly don't have anything in opposition of this, except that the only thing I would possibly recommend to the owner is to consider something in the way of an awning, because you're going to now have your front door completely exposed to the elements, the weather, and all of that. And that entryway, while you need the space, now leaves you with no cover for when you even want to get into the door. So that's my only first thought was like, where's somebody gonna stand when they want to get in, if the door's locked or closed? You know, umbrella maybe, but just a thought.
A suggestion.
Suggestion.
Informal suggestion.
Yeah. I don't know if that would be necessary to get approval if they come back wanting to put a little awning over the front entry, but maybe.
Probably, yes,
So
I would think.
would have thought that would be okay.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward what he's doing.
Okay. I'd invite a motion at this time, and note this is a recommendation item.
Okay.
Designated.
I will go ahead and I move to recommend approval of the request by Philip, I'm sorry, I can't. Manea, DBA Double DP Investments for approval of a conceptual design plan pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98 zoning, Section 98-27, Old Town Helotes Special District for a building addition at the Shops at Old Town located at 14743 Old Bandera Road, Building 7, Helotes, Texas, 78023.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion further of the, any discussion of the motion? And
No.
Buck, Alex. So it's written up slightly differently on the copy we have, but it's the same. I don't believe Shops of Old Town was actually in the what we have here,
okay.
but I wouldn't worry about that because we're talking about the same building, same address. So the motion is to recommend approval of the request by Philip Manea, DBA Double DP Investments for the conceptual design plan, including site plan and building design pursuant to code chapter 98, section 27, zoning Old Town Helotes Special District for a building addition to Casa Aesthetics and Wellness, 14743 Old Bandera Road, Building 7. All in favor, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. And Mr. Manea, this will go to council.
February 22nd.
22nd of February for final determination. Thank you.
Oh, it was different on the agenda item. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll read from this next time.
We're on to item 7 tonight. Discussion and action on a preliminary and final plat pursuant to code chapter 78 subdivisions, establishing the replat of the Gardens of Old Town Helotes subdivision being a 6.5 acre tract of land. I'm not going to read the whole caption out at this point because it's long, but that's enough to get us started. Mr. Dempsey is here tonight if we have questions. Michael, did you want to introduce this? Speak to it?
So this is just a plat. So this is a follow-up to the conceptual design that was brought to P&Z and City Council by Mr. Dempsey for the food truck park. So before we issue any kind of permit for construction for the food truck park, he has to kind of plat this or replat this, and this is basically what that is.
And indeed, it is a council will have final determination of this, correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you bring the plat up just so we have it in case there's any discussion about it? The applicant is here if there are questions, but I'd open it up to for the commission. Commissioners for comments or questions on this item. I guess I have one question, Mr. Dempsey, if you wouldn't mind, and just put your name and business address on the record. The food truck itself, the area that is about an acre of this is going to be for that. Is that
That's correct. Ken Dempsey, 15060 Antonio Drive is the business address.
Lot 2? Is that the location for it? Or
Lot 2.
Lot 2, okay. And it's going to.
The plat, those are actually three
Right.
different plats.
So the third one is designated, I believe, as a open space. Is that, do I have that right? At least for now.
The one up there, that is a total 100% floodplain, and I'm putting paths through it for kind of a bird sanctuary.
Okay.
So it's kind of a little walking area, and it's total woods.
And lot 1 at this point doesn't have a,
Lot 1 has the wedding venue.
oh, sorry, that's correct. Yes.
The garden.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? That's all I had. Buck
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
and Alex?
No, thank you.
No, I don't have any.
Thank you. So at this point, I would invite a motion.
Okay. This is a recommendation item, so
Yes.
I move to recommend approval of the preliminary and final plat pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78 subdivisions, establishing the replat of the Gardens of Old Town Helotes subdivision being a 6.50 acre tract of land out of the J.M. Ross Survey number 223, County Block 4523, abstract number 645, Bear County, Texas, and being all of Lot 30A, Glen Cecilia subdivision of record in volume 9524, page 132, deed and plat records, Bear County, Texas, and being all of track 1, track 2, and track 3 as described in volume 15982, page 2424 of the official public records of real property, Bear County, Texas.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion of the motion. Ann, anything?
Nothing.
Buck,
Nothing.
Alex?
No, sir, thank you.
So the motion is to recommend approval of the preliminary and final plats pursuant to Code Chapter 78 subdivisions establishing the replat of the Garden of Old Town Helotes subdivision, 6.5 acre tract of land out of the J.M. Ross Survey number 223, County Block 4523, abstract 645, Bear County, being all of Lot 30A, Glen Cecilia subdivision of record in volume 9524, page 132, deed and plat records, Bear County, being all of tracks 1, 2, and 3 as described in volume 15982, page 2424 of the official public records of real property, Bear County, Texas. All in favor, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all much. And Mr. Dempsey, this will be February 22nd, will be before council. Thank you. Item 8 tonight is discussion and action on the request by Great Lakes Lone Star LLC for a change in zoning from Neighborhood Service District B2 to General Business District B3 for 1.992 acres described as the Rockingham Lot Subdivision, Block 5, Lot 57, generally located at 13652 Bandera Road, Helotes. Michael, did you want to introduce this item?
So this is a rezoning item from B2 to B3. And basically, we met Mr. Lopez this evening. So the intention of it is to build a storage facility to code, but this is the first obstacle for him. It would just have to be a rezoning because that type of business isn't allowed in the B2.
Okay, so we do have, and if you could maybe put up the map, thank you.
So this is the subject property and it's roughly 3 acres, but Mr. Lopez, when it first got platted, it was Rockingham Lot, which was brought before you guys as well as city council. Platted, and then he purchased 1.99 out of that for Great Lakes. So this is kind of like the breakdown of that. Roughly, this is what he wants to change to the blue color, for lack of a better word.
Blue is B3, green is B2, right?
Correct.
I do have a question for Mr. Lopez, if you could step up here a second. And I guess I was kind of confused. You seem to say in your 3 minutes, I don't understand, as if you're not doing a storage unit there, but your proposal says that that's what you wanted to do. And I just want to clarify that.
Right.
Why-
My ultimate goal and proposal was to build a martial arts facility and studio. Obviously, as things have inflated with price, cost, we were continuously going back. I actually hired Mr. Carlson to be our architect. So between the cost of obviously everything, right? Blueprints to materials to the contractors, everything continued to go up and up and up. And so we were at a point where we were sitting on something that we unfortunately can no longer do at that time. So we had to look at 2 things. Because it was going to cost so much to spread outward, we then had to start looking as far as going upward. Was the idea was to then go to tilt wall and to have a multi-level multi-level workout facility. And so it was planning on being a multi-level facility either way. That being said, once we got to the point to where we can no longer do anything with the materials, we thought, okay, well, we'll possibly sell this piece of property. We're located right off of Leslie Road by Tractor Supply Company. We've been there for 12 years. We bought the property up from Charles Locascio Properties. We've been there since, and we're thinking, okay, possibly we could sell this and be able to then occupy that space over there. It being a B2 versus a B3 does give us a B3 versus a B2 does give us a broader scope. So really the goal was to be able to have a better likelihood or chance or opportunity of selling the property. So that way we can continue to either do something where we are currently, or if we couldn't do something where we are currently, to turn it to a B3, and then possibly in the future, not only be able to have more space to build out and around it, but also to build upwards if we
Okay,
needed to.
but your intention, that's still true, that your intention is the storage units, right?
I don't own a storage company, and I don't have a storage company that's interested in purchasing the property.
Okay.
My whole goal with doing it to a B3 was I was informed and told that it obviously has a broader scope of businesses that can then occupy that property. So my whole goal in changing it from a B2 to a B3 was so that way it gave, honestly, just a better chance of selling it. It made it more appealing, if that made sense.
Michael, would you back up a couple pages to the up? Just
We have had companies ask us about whether it was
Hang on a second, sir.
zoned. Yes, sir.
go next page, Michael. Right here.
It says,
Can you clarify, is this accurate or not?
We did have companies ask us if they could build a multi-level storage facility on a B2 or B3. That being said, we were told that we could not do as many things on a B2. So the goal was then, okay, if we can't do as much with the B2, whether this company or any other company down the road decides to purchase it, it does give us a better opportunity to either do something with it ourselves or down the road from here.
But as
As
of,
an
sorry to
investment
interrupt,
property.
but-
No, no,
But
thank you.
as of right now, tonight, there is no
plan.
plan or commitment.
No.
Okay.
No, sir.
I'm just reading what you submitted.
No,
That is-
sir.
That is from you.
And I can, the only thing I can do is apologize for any type of miscommunication. We don't have any plans. The only plans that I've drawn up with Mr. Carlson, and he can attest to that himself, are plans to put up a educational facility.
Okay.
If you had other questions.
No, I don't have any other questions.
Buck,
No, I mean, you actually nailed my question.
Alex.
Well, I don't really have any questions. I have some comments because I looked at this request from multiple different angles, right? So the first thing I thought was, here we have a request to rezone one individual piece of property out of a group of piece of properties, which to me, I have heartburn with because it really is inconsistent with the use of that section of the city. And while I don't know that it would be qualified as a spot zoning, it sure feels like it in many ways when you start to take one piece of property that's not consistent with everything surrounding it and you do that. I know that's not your intent or your expectation. So then I started looking at what the proposal to us was a storage unit, whether it's single story, two story, or whatever. And I got to thinking, what would that be like in comparison to other things? And of course, our building code allows on commercial property multi-story buildings, right? And I realize that the people who live immediately adjacent to this are probably spoiled with the fact that they've lived next to commercial property for 40 years and have not had any opportunity to have a business right next to it. So, but this, even leaving it as a B2 doesn't eliminate the potential for a two-story building right up against the back fence of something, right? So then I thought, well, that's understandable, but this is different than the other B3 areas. And that's because it is so close to the residential. There's very little space between the road and the neighbors right behind it, unlike the opposite side of Highway 16 or further up when you get to the feed store and the meadows and all the way down to Scenic Loop, where there's a great deal of distance between those backyards. And also you've got a hill that has some sort of protection for those areas. So my thought was, this was clearly that way when the city was formed in the very beginnings in the early 80s, because of that proximity to the residents. And so we have another area of town, and this is where I went next in my thought process. Then that's the residences, we'll call it next to the wash tub and the Sonic and those areas. And And years ago, we switched that from a B3 to a B3 overlay zone because of the proximity to the residential neighborhood. So I put the two of those side by side, and what you're asking to do wouldn't be allowable there either. So I didn't see that's the case. Some of the residents have brought up a lot of different things about the differences. Many of the things that you can do in a B3, you can't do in a B2, aren't necessarily atrocious, but there are a lot of things on there that you really don't want right next to a residential neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Some of which have been brought to our attention. So I don't really think this is the right location. It's trying to do one piece of property out of a collection of properties so that's an inconsistency on behalf of the city. The other thing I had to look at was the fact that, again, remember that our request was specific in that you were asking for a zoning change, but for a particular purpose. Now that turns out not to be the case, which makes me even more concerned. Right? Because the concern now is that now we're opening it up to a potential hotel. We're opening it up to a potential, who knows what else is in the B3. And so now we don't know what is going to possibly come there. So now we have to think, and I'm sure the residents of the city think the worst could occur. And unfortunately, you're standing there telling us, well, that's exactly what you wanted, was to be able to sell it to somebody who needs a better use of it than a B2. So now I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm also not asking any questions. I'm making comment on that. The final thing I wanted to mention is that as a city, we have to be very careful about what happens to the very few pieces of commercial property we have left and making sure that we generate residential or retail sales tax. And in what was presented to us, a storage unit is very little in the case of retail sales. And so that would then put more of our sales tax burden on ad valorem tax, which then burdens the citizens rather than bringing in retail sales and all that. So for those multiple reasons, I am completely opposed to the request for a zoning change, regardless of what the intent of the use is.
And my only comment.
You're good?
You're good.
Please, go ahead.
I just had a comment as well. And the reason I asked you to clarify about the storage unit is because you seem to be a little frustrated that why are all these people bringing up the storage unit so I wanted to clarify that so that you didn't think that our vote was based on some misinformation or our recommendation or whatever. So, as I can understand your frustration, when you buy a piece of property and it's zoned a certain way, you should buy it knowing that, and you know what your restrictions are. Now, sometimes you get lucky and you get it changed the way you want it, but that should not be the norm. It's only the exception when we're going to go and change it. So when you buy a piece of property, and believe me, everybody's done this, not looked carefully enough about or anticipated. Obviously, you thought you were going to build one thing and it didn't work out. And I'm so sorry for that. And I feel your frustration. It's just that our forefathers zoned it as B2, and I don't think there's any reason to change that in this situation. And I'm sorry that, I can imagine this frustration. I hope that you come up with something that you enjoy and that becomes a better option for you.
Mr. Lopez, I have a question for you. You're currently operating a business in the city, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what zoning classification you're currently in?
I'm in the ETJ area.
ETJ, okay. Do you know if the type of use that you have right now is allowable in a B2?
I was informed that I could have a retail type business in a B2 area. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, you operate as, catch it right, a studio, like a martial arts studio?
It's a martial arts and ballet facility.
Do you know if that is allowable in the B2 zoning classification?
With all the information that we had looked at, I was informed that yes, at least that's what I'm believing. Am I correct on that?
So Michael, can you confirm that? Hold on, type for a second. Trying to get to the schedule.
No worries.
Do you have it, Alex?
Way down there.
Yeah.
But with all information and discussings that I had in the past and dealings that I had done, Yes, I believe
So
that I could.
I'm
build
not
that.
100% sure, but I think it is.
Yeah.
Which means that, let's say it is, let's assume it is. That means you could choose to create, build, establish a studio like you have now in this exact location we're
Yes, sir.
talking about without a zoning change.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
you may have cost issues as you as referenced earlier. I mean, but that's a different issue. Zoning wise, assuming if we operate on this assumption, that would allow this type of use that you currently have here without requiring zoning change. So that would be worth exploring and verifying as well. So I put that out there to you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much for coming up and answering our questions. I think at this point, we can have a motion on this item.
Okay, I can do that.
Not all of them.
We're going.
Yeah, I move to deny,
It's a
to
recommendation.
recommend denial. I move to recommend denial of the request by Great Lakes Lone Star LLC for a change in zoning from Neighborhood Service District B2 to General Business District B3 for 1.992 acres described as Rocking Umlaut subdivision, Block 5, Lot 57, generally located at 13652 Bandera Road, Helotes, Texas 78023, and identified as BCAD property ID number 1396011.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Buck. Discussion of the motion. Anything in?
No.
No, the B2 is support, the household needs of the surrounding community. Changing it to a B3, I really feel it takes that out of, it's already been stated, our predecessors had said that's what really should be there to support the community.
Thank you. Alex, anything?
No, sir.
Okay, we need to do this by roll call per ordinance. So Alex, I will read it out. The motion is to recommend denial of the request by Great Lakes Lone Star LLC for a change in zoning from Neighborhood Service District B2 to General Business District B3 for 1.992 acres described as the Rocking Umlaut subdivision, Block 5, Lot 57, generally located at 13652 Bandera Road.
So a vote in favor of the motion is to recommend disapproving the request.
Recommending disapproving, correct.
I'll start with Ann.
Aye.
Buck.
Aye.
I vote aye as well.
Okay, and I will not need to vote, so this motion is approved unanimously. It does go to city council next, the 22nd. So city council will have the opportunity to hear from residents, hear from you, and then we'll make the final determination, February 22nd. Thank you, Alex. Okay, that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. If we can have a motion to adjourn, I'd appreciate it.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor of
Thank you, Bud.
adjourning, signal aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:40. It's our little tradition.
She so much better than I, she's fluent.
You had to read a lot tonight, too.
Is that it?